Hi, I'm Jeanette, the Northbound Coach. Welcome. I want to continue our chat today on the same broad topic that we've been addressing over the last several weeks, which is, let's say that you are having that experience of the Sunday scaries, that feeling of anxiety and dread in particular that comes on, late on Sundays when you're thinking about the work week ahead. You're mid-career, you're maybe later career, and your relationship to your job has shifted dramatically from what it was over the course of your career. You've been meets and exceeds expectations sort of a person in this setting, and all of a sudden it's just way harder and dreadful than it has been in the past. And when you think about okay, what's at the core of this? The particular situation where you can trace that back to the relationship between you and your manager. In other words, you have a toxic manager, right? Maybe a gaslighting manager, maybe a micromanaging manager, but really you can trace back the brokenness to that manager and the manager's behaviors. We've been talking about that in general. What do we do with that, and et cetera, et cetera. Today, I want to talk about, okay, from the I need to make a change move, or the sense of the move. What do we do from here? Particularly when it becomes very difficult to think about the move because you start to think about everything that you would give up. Or that at least you'd perceive yourself giving up in that sort of a transition. And that probably is likely things like your financial security. In other words, I'm not sure if I make a move that I can continue to earn the kind of the salary grade that I'm in within either this higher ed institution that I'm a part of and have been a part of for years, or corporation, what have you. You've come to a certain point. And so that package of the benefits and the pay and all of those things can feel very difficult, or it's high risk to think about recreating those somewhere else. And so that hesitation keeps you stuck and in a really dreadful environment relative to that. And what I want to highlight in today's chat is, yes, and what is it costing you? Maybe not in those dollar signs, but what's it costing you in maybe what could be, when you play it out in kind of the worst case scenario, what is it costing you in terms of your health, your peace of mind, your well-being? What if the dreadfulness of the relationship starts to be so significant that it eats away at your health from the perspective of you're not getting a good night's sleep? Maybe there's so much stress that you're not eating well. So maybe your nutrition, right, isn't fueling you in that same, you're not taking care of yourself because you're so caught up in how do I work with my how do I make this better with my manager? And it doesn't seem like something that you can change because you're locked in from a compensation perspective. But what I'm pointing out here is, yes, and you may be paying that price. It's, you're still functional, but what kind of jeopardy might you be putting yourself in that, at its worst case, you can't come back from, or that significantly puts you back? So there is a cost, even while you're maintaining the compensation, the salary, the way that it is. So that's one very sobering thing to think about, really what's it costing you? How much is at risk there? And then the other thing from a financial perspective that I want to highlight is, often we think about, well, our income needs to be this because this is the lifestyle that we're living. This is what it costs to maintain all the different kinds of things I'm doing. However, is it really that you need to replicate if you were to make a transition? Or is it some kind of transitional salary that doesn't need to be at that same level because you are, one, making shifts in the lifestyle that you're leading just automatically? So Maybe because, here's an example, maybe because you're so caught up in trying to, make things workable at work that, you are not able to plan and prepare good meals or at the lowest cost. You're eating out, you're getting, takeaway sorts of things. You are paying for those things in the lifestyle that once you remove the big stressor and you're into something else, that's no longer there. And so you have a savings. You also can put together a transitional financial plan that doesn't have you, like maybe you come down to the bare minimum on a number of these elective sorts of things. Not that you never return to them, but to afford the transition that you're thinking about, you bring it down smaller. There's lots of different ways to think about it. It's not necessarily I have to go from what my life is today and I have to find an income equal to it because that's what it takes. No, there's a different life that you're entering into when you're thinking about making a transition. We'll talk more about all of the things, the options within the transition, but just to think about where you are today, currently employed but miserable, and feeling stuck about what the options are. Well, okay, what are we really dealing with here? One, that there is a cost, even if it's not in dollars, that you're likely taking on even from a health perspective. And two, the cost of continuing on is actually something that you can modify, at least temporarily, and likely have some continuing reductions because you're making that change at this point. I would be happy to support you by offering you a free 45-minute strategy consultation around this. Happy to be a neutral, I am a career coach, so happy to extend my expertise to you in that way. Should that be of interest to you, I'll drop a scheduling link in the description box. I hope this has been helpful for you. I hope that it has been hopeful for you. I'll be back next week, and in the meantime, have a good week ahead. Thanks for watching. Take care.